Hello and welcome to the Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. So, Peter, we've discussed many times in the past Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, who rode to power as a kind of a firebrand who was going to shake up the European political establishment.
Mussolini in a skirt.
Mussolini in a skirt. There was terror. Everyone was terrified. Nightmares. The media ran with constant stories. Mussolini is coming back, and we soon found that she wasn't quite Mussolini. She couldn't wait to hug Zelensky, and whenever Zelensky was in a meeting, she always made sure that she would be right next to Zelensky, so they'd be photographed together. But what's interesting is that just as she kind of abandoned that kind of that conservative position of saying let's be a little more restrained in our foreign policy, that she seems to have abandoned even her signature issue, or at least the signature issue of the Italian right, which was immigration. And indeed, Politico, certainly no friend of Meloni's or the right of Italy, is now gleeful that Meloni has abandoned all of her talk on immigration. So let me just show you this story that appeared today on Politico, and yeah, we can see that here's the headline, a kind of gloating headline: how Italy's far-right leader learned to stop worrying and love migration. Giorgia Meloni is presiding over a sharp spike in regular and irregular arrivals. So,
of course, Politico loves this.
Politico loves it, but is happy. Oh, where's that's your Mussolini for you. And so it goes on. It says, before becoming Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni was one of the most strident voices on migration in the European Union. As an opposition politician, she warned darkly of efforts to substitute native Italians with ethnic minorities, and promised to put in place a naval blockade to stop migrants crossing the Mediterranean. During her time in office, she has taken a markedly different tack, presiding over a sharp spike in irregular arrivals and introducing legislation that could see as many as 1.5 million new migrants through legal channels. So we're talking about big numbers here. And so that Politico is really gleeful about this. And then Meloni is presiding over a country that is economically stagnant and in demographic decline. Well, you know what's coming now. They need the workers. They need the workers. They just don't have the workers. This is always the cry of the sort of the immigration lobby. God, the strawberries.
Yeah, but maybe if workers had better jobs and better wages, they would have families. I don't know.
Exactly. They would have exactly. That's right.
I'm just throwing that out, everybody.
It's a very good point. I mean, it's if they had a little more money, then they might actually make more children. Italy just has said that it's having problems making children, but the cheap labor lobby always comes in with these stories. Oh, the strawberries are rotting in the fields. No one is picking the corn. Apples are just falling off the trees. No one's picking the apples. There's terrible shortage of labor.
If you paid 20 euros an hour, I bet you wouldn't have a problem.
No problem at all. No problem with that. And that's the point. People will do all kinds of work, the worst jobs, if you paid them properly. Somebody picks up the garbage. Why do they get paid quite decently? Somebody works down in the sewer. These are not great jobs, but if you pay them, people will do them.
What about the guys that clean the windows of skyscrapers? They go to the bank, folks. Okay, it's a hard, scary job.
Very scary.
They pay. I mean, talk about supply and demand, George. It works.
That's right. Absolutely. Over the last decade, Italy has shrunk by some 1.5 million people, more than the population of Milan. In 39 out of its 107 provinces, there are more retirees than workers. I don't even know what that means. I mean, you can always pick provinces, where people move in their retirement, just like people move to Florida and retire. So yeah, okay, there are places where there are a lot of retirees. It's numbers like these that prompted Italy's economy minister Giancarlo Giorgetti to warn earlier this month that no reform of the pension system would hold up in the medium to long term with the birth rate numbers we have today in this country. So again, you can see Meloni is going down the Nikki Haley path of pension reform. Now, we know what pension reform is, and Nikki Haley said it. We're going to raise the retirement age just to make sure that people go on working for longer, and then hopefully, they're going to die quicker, and they're going to collect less in pensions. So that's the way of solving our pension problem.
That's a real neoliberal neoliberalism cynicism at its best.
It is.
Retire, and then you die. You don't collect.
You don't collect, exactly. So, oh no, we have to raise the retirement age so that I mean, life expectancy isn't that great, and it's been declining in the United States. So if you raise the retirement age, you really aren't going to have too many years of retirement, and then great. Good. Then we keep all the money, all the money that you contributed through your working life. We get to keep it. Thank you. Bye-bye. So Meloni's legal migration decree estimates Italy needs 830,000 new migrants over the next 3 years to fill in the gap in its labor force. It opens the door to 452,000 workers over the same period to fill seasonal jobs in sectors like agriculture and tourism, as well as long-term positions like plumbers, electricians, care workers, and mechanics. What, Italians aren't able to be plumbers or electricians?
Well, it's the new feudalism. Let's get these little brown people to work for us. Okay,
right. That's it.
It's really quite cynical. Why don't you have Italians working for you? Okay,
exactly. That's right. And so, given Italy's rules on family reunification, which allow residents to bring in relatives, quote, it's easy to predict that over something like 10 years, these figures will triple. No kidding. Bringing in about 1.5 million migrants, says Maurizio Ambrosini, a professor of sociology at Milan's university. Meloni's government, he added, has been pushed to implement a more realistic policy by the entrepreneurial class that makes up an important part of its support. Well, I don't believe it's the corporation, the corporate interests who have always lobbied for cheap labor, and they're told, yeah, play ball with us, and you start. And of course, this all sends a signal. I mean, this migration, and the moment they start talking about, hey, we've got to bring in more people come, and then some. I mean, it always follows.
Well, it's interesting here. I mean, it's such an essentialist argument they're making. There's no concern about culture,
no.
Community, heritage.
No.
And I was just, you said, it's these corporations. I wonder, even the people that own these corporations, do they even live in Italy?
Probably not. Yeah.
Probably not.
Probably not.
They live like in Normandy, France,
right.
or something like that.
That's right. That's right. But they can bring in some cheap labor. Somebody has to do the garden. And somebody can wash the car. That's very nice. But yeah, I mean, Italy. The people who live there said Italy is completely transformed. The kind of Italian culture. There's the Italian villages, Italian small towns. They're just unrecognizable from what they were just say 20, 30 years ago.
But the extension to what George just said, which I completely agree with, but what kind of culture? I mean, first of all, if you take this essentialist argument, essentially they're saying culture, heritage, tradition, it isn't important, but there will be a culture that will come into being. What culture is that, and do you want it?
Right. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. That's right. While Meloni has continued to take a hard line on irregular arrivals, there's little sign it's being effective. The number of people arriving by boat after crossing the Mediterranean has more than doubled this year to 106,000 so far this year, compared to 53,000 over the same period last year, according to government data. The 53,000 before she became prime minister. Across the Mediterranean, Meloni joined European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen to strike a controversial pact with Tunisia, exchanging aid funding for stricter efforts to prevent migrants from making the crossing. Since the Memorandum of Understanding was signed in July, however, arrivals increased by nearly 40%. Well, that was a policy that worked. I mean, because you bribe Tunisia. Well, what happens when you bribe someone? They say, well, I need another bribe. I mean, I'm not going to settle for that.
I was just going to say that if you bribe someone and it doesn't, and then the other party doesn't, the person taking the bribe doesn't live up to the deal, then you don't have another deal with them. But no, this is how neoliberalism works. Let's just give them more money. Okay?
It's a little like Erdogan, who used to comes along with every now and then. Well, we got these 3 million migrants in Turkey. Any minute now, I'm going to unleash them on Europe. Oh, don't do it. How much do you want? Well, a couple of billion might do the job for the time being. All right, well, here's the check for a couple of billion. I mean,
that's when he wore his blackmail hat to work.
That's right. Because well, what a shock! It didn't work. It's increased by nearly 40%. Huh? Maybe it's time for another check. Whip out your checkbook, Giorgia. And okay, so that's the situation in Italy. So, but maybe Meloni can go and hug and kiss Zelensky some more. Just to take attention away from these debacles.
Well, since she's been hanging out with Ursula, we have the tools. I have to wonder, George, is Georgia, she's not going to get elected again. She's completely betrayed her electorate, completely. I mean, transparently. Okay, so she's going to move up the ladder. Okay, yes. Maybe she'll be head of Ukraine's future agricultural policy. Okay, it'll pay big bucks. Nice little palace outside of Brussels. Okay. Yeah. Oh, this is just a beginning for this girl. Right. Hang on to her. She's going up like a kite. Okay. Right. I really believe that. I
absolutely agree with you, because she will be well rewarded, because they'll see her as having, put the boot in to populism. I mean, they're very afraid of populism. And say, hey, you did it. We were really afraid of Italy. That's a big country. That's one of the founders of the EU. We were terrified that the populists were going to come to power in Italy. You put the kibosh into them. Now here's your big reward, and I absolutely think that they're gonna look after her more than the Finn chick or the Estonian chick that we talked about the other day. So yeah, this one, she deserves a real reward.
Yeah, because she turned on her political roots, populism.
Right.
And if you get somebody to do that so publicly, so shamelessly, okay, the electorates can say, oh well, we saw someone like you before. We're not going that. Right. It's brilliant from Brussels' point of view. Okay,
that's right. Exactly.
Elite capture, everyone. Elite capture. Capture. So you don't. Of course, they will do everything to make you stumble during an election, during the counting of the votes. But now they have the third one. Once you're elected, we just co-opt you.
Exactly. With Ursula, top to Tunisia. To bribe the Tunisian leader. Hey, I did it. I did exactly what Ursula wanted me to do. I gave him a bribe. Okay, well, that's fine. You did what Ursula wanted you to do. You spent money pointlessly. You just piss away a whole bunch of money. But okay, that's it. You did the right thing.
Good work if you can get it, man. I mean, Ursula, I'll like a deal with it. Okay, I'll just keep the money. Okay. Anyway, we saw this, George and I saw this from the get-go. First, the first indication was because, I mean, George and I don't dwell on Italian politics, let's be honest here. Right. But her shift of position on Ukraine and Zelensky, this kind of weird love affair she has with him, really, that really irked us. So that stirred us, okay? And then we see everything else fall apart here.
Exactly. That was just the first indication, and it was a significant one. So it's like, once she did that, you can be absolutely certain that she's going to betray all the other her other promises and all the other issues that she ran on. And lo and behold, her signature issue, she's far worse than the left that she had replaced, worse than Mario Draghi.
The last time George and I talked about her, remember how we ended it, George? Everyone thought they were getting Mussolini, but they got Tony Blair instead.
That's right. But I think in this case, I think they're getting Nikki Haley. I think she's Italy's Nikki Haley. Or maybe Nikki Haley will be America's Giorgia Meloni.
Or Nikki Blair, okay? Satisfied? Nikki Blair.
Nikki Blair, okay.
All right, everybody. I cross another one off. Okay, another hopeless case. Okay. All right, this is The Gaggle with Peter and George. We're on Local, so please go to thegaggle.locals.com. Today is Wednesday. That means 24 hours from now, approximately, George will have a second live stream of the week.
Second live stream, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Please join me. Come with comments, criticisms, suggestions. On the way out the door, think about Little Buddy, because Little Buddy said, I've stuck by my principles, and what good has that done me? I haven't sold anyone out, and the tip jar, it remains in its parlous state. So, he feels, his loyalty is not being rewarded.
He's got that Chihuahua pride. I can't tell
Chihuahua pride. Yeah. That's frightening. So if you have a few bob in your pocket, whip him out, dunk him in his tip jar. That'll reassure him a little bit. We're very grateful for all of your help and friendship and support. The more you're able to donate, the more of these videos we can make, the more we can improve the technology, and above all, the Chihuahua pride will be restored. So remember, if you like The Gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.